Hey guys, this is Ginger and I'm here with a disturbing expression. Today I want to talk about an incident that happened in Chicago, mass trans. I believe it happened Monday by this guy named Lawrence Reed. Oh my God, I thought, I just did a commentary about this like early in the year. It seemed like it was two incidences that happened this year, but the first one started off in New York with this illegal migrant came on the transit system and in the wee hours in the morning and set a lady on fire and sat there on the platform and watched her go up in flames. And New York was devastated. It was like an uproar because the guy he illegally got in the country twice, okay, and he was living in Brooklyn in a shelter. The man didn't even speak English, but he's just roaming the streets and he's just roaming the train station and he's just setting people on fire. And it was just devastating. And then the second incident was I did a commentary on that lady that was running from Ukraine, and she was a refugee, and she was running from a war, and she came to the United States, and she was in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was doing a menial job, like a pizzeria job, for her to get on mass transit, public transportation. After a hard day, to sit down with some lunatic to just get up and stab her and kill her. And all things, she left a war just to come here to get stabbed on a train. Devastating. But you know what? When it rains, it pours. Here come another incident of another lunatic, that should have been, in a mental institution. But no, he's roaming the streets of Chicago. And, they said this wasn't his first incident. They said he set fire to something else before. But, oh well. His name is Lawrence Reed. And he was on the train. It wasn't too many people on the train. And this 26-year-old lady was sitting there reading her phone, and it goes back to this, like I mentioned this before, in my other two commentary. You just can't just be sitting there reading, be so caught up in your cell phone. You can't just have your music in your ears. I don't care if it's hardly anybody in the train. You think you're alone, and it's not too many people to look or watch after, but I think it was only four people in the whole car, but one of them came through and attacked her, okay? And they showing clips of him when he went to the gas station to get gasoline, and I think he took it. They said 20 minutes before he went on the train, he actually put some of the gasoline in a bottle, and just randomly. It's not like they had an argument or it was provoked. He just randomly just walked up to her, doused her with gasoline, and just set her on fire. And I'm like, this is going on. It's too frequent. And it's so scary, and it scares me because I haven't been on the train system in like over 5 years. It makes me scared to ride public transportation. And I think they said she was able to get off at the next stop, and only two people try to help put out the fire. Okay, and Chicago was mad about. I think it was four people on the train. They was mad because they didn't do anything, but they was able to get the fire out or whatever. And I mean, it's so crazy when they started talking about this dude. Besides, that he's mentally disturbed. He's been in and out of courts, and I don't know how they are slipping through the cracks. I don't know how they actually come up to a judge and they go, okay, put an ankle bracelet on him. For some reason, he was able to get past that. I don't know why. He was supposed to have an ankle bracelet. And like the other one, he was supposed to went back to court. And y'all believe these people. Y'all know they're mentally disturbed, but you take their word for it. And then it was like, oh my God. Then it was showing like they mugshots, and they said this dude have been arrested 50 times. I don't mean to laugh. Can you imagine getting arrested 50 times within your entire life? Like, that is a lot of times to be stopped to be arrested, okay? Who gets arrested that many times? And it's just like freely, I think they said the last incident was that he assaulted his social worker or something like that. But yeah, he's been arrested 50 times. I can't even fathom somebody being arrested 50 times, but they say he's been arrested 50 times. And and he's back out in the street and he needs medication. And I'm like, I don't know. Is it because they can't afford to keep them in these institutions? Because they said, it's not just a matter of just putting them in jail. They need to be on medication, they need psychiatric treatment and things like that. I don't know why it's so hard to keep them in these places, because I know I remember an old incident like like maybe a decade or so, that one of these institutions, it was a psych place, and this man roaming the streets, and he had schizophrenia. But when they went to go back to the place that he was supposed to be, they had him checked in as if he was there, as if they gave the medication. They had to sue the place behind that because they pretending he was at this mental institution and he wasn't. So they were just getting the funding for a man that wasn't even there. I don't know what to say, but I know that shit makes me scared to ride the trains. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And like I said, it wasn't too many people in the car with her, so I guess they felt, I guess they didn't feel too much could happen, but you don't know what's going on in everybody's head. It's just as simple as that. You don't know what's going on in everybody's head. You gotta watch out for everybody. And then they rushed to her aid or whatever, and I was just looking like, she's critical, but I hope she's okay. I really do, because stuff like that just hits me hard. I hate to hear random attacks happening to people. It's just scary. But I know at one point I'm gonna have to get back on the train because I don't own a car, so I gotta stay alert. But I just had to just talk on it. When I see things like this, I just feel like I gotta spread awareness. I don't care where you are in the United States. You just gotta stay awake. You could be like sitting at the bus stop waiting for the bus and somebody will attack you for no reason, just because they're mentally disturbed. They can do it. And a lot of times they get off. They go in, they come back out. Either these places are too full, they don't have space for them. I've heard so many crazy things watching the news about, certain people, they go to jail and they come back out, or they go to these mental institutes and, they come back out because these places are overcrowded and they just put them right back out in the street. And that's just, you know, out to torture us. But I don't know what they're going to do about that. But I really hope this lady is okay. But I'm going to actually start doing more news commentary because it's a lot going on out here and it affects all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to actually do a commentary about these fucking teenage kids, like 12, 13 years old, fucking beat up on a grown woman who was pregnant. They was bullying her child, I believe. And I actually saw the tape. Listen, I'm gonna talk about that too because I mean it's a lot I want to talk about, but I'm definitely gonna talk about that too. Parents are gonna have to start being accountable for their kids. I'm sorry. That's the only way these kids are gonna straighten out. They're gonna have to start being accountable for their kids' actions. And I bet you they're gonna start disciplining them a little more. I'm telling you. But that's another commentary. But I think I'm gonna actually end it here. But I just had to share this. I'm like, it devastates me. I don't mean, can you imagine being set on fire? And even if you survive it, do you understand that you are marked for life? And then you got to go through therapy. I've seen stuff like that on TLC. It's not an easy role if you survive that. You know what I'm saying? You're marked for life. You're scarred for life. And then, you got to always look at yourself. They know what they're doing when they do these things to you. They want you to remember them for the rest of your life. Okay? Well, I'm not going to keep you guys, but every time I see his face, it's like, I could tell he's not fucking okay. You can look in his eyes, he looks evil. He looked like he's lost. Ugh. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here, guys. But you know what? Make sure you hit the like button. We got to start getting things like this in my other commentary into the algorithm so we could just start having more conversations. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share. Make sure you comment. And also look at some of my older commentary. Until then, I'll see you next time. Everybody have a good night.